The Indiana Fever just destroyed the Chicago Sky in what was an embarrassing loss.
It was supposed to be the matchup of the season. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark face-to-face under the lights at the United Center. The kind of game fans clear their calendars for. A showdown that had been brewing since their heated college days. But when tip-off came, one thing was clear. The story that night wasn't what anyone expected, because Caitlin Clark never stepped on the court. Instead, Angel Reese walked into one of the biggest stages of her young pro career, only to watch her team get dismantled, again, by a Fever squad that didn't even need their star. The Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever game wasn't just a rematch, it was a statement. But from who? And behind the scenes, something else strange was happening. Stephanie White, the Fever's head coach, was nowhere to be seen. No clear explanation, no sideline presence, just a lot of whispered questions. Where is Stephanie White tonight? Why isn't she coaching? While fans searched for answers, a storm was building. Not just between teams, but around a league that's changing faster than anyone expected. This wasn't just Fever versus Sky. This was about power, popularity, and the new faces taking over the WNBA. The energy outside the United Center that night didn't feel like your average WNBA game. It felt historic, because it was. For the first time ever, the Chicago Sky were stepping onto the same hardwood where Michael Jordan once reigned. And across from them, the Indiana Fever, led by a new generation of stars. Everyone knew what this was supposed to be, a rematch soaked in rivalry, Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, but now on the biggest possible stage. Not in a college gym, not at a training facility, but in one of the most iconic arenas in basketball history. Fans had been talking about it for weeks, social feeds flooded with clips, predictions, even ticket screenshots. Sky vs. Fever was the headline, but the subtext? It was all about Reese and Clark. Round 2. 19,496 fans filled the building, a new record for a Sky home game. That's more than any previous WNBA game in Chicago, even topping the 2016 All-Star appearance at Allstate Arena. But it wasn't just the number that made it electric, it was who they came to see. Some wore jerseys, many more wore Clarks. They expected fireworks. They got something else entirely, and that's when things started to shift, because Clark didn't play. Again. When the cameras panned to the Fever bench, the crowd's anticipation turned into quiet confusion. There she was, Caitlin Clark, sitting in street clothes. No warm-up gear, no signs of last-minute prep, just watching. For the 4th straight game, Clark was sidelined with a lingering quad issue. Officially, it's being called precautionary, but fans weren't buying it. Not on a night like this, not with the entire city of Chicago watching, and millions more tuning in across the country. Some showed up wearing her name, some drove hours just to see her shoot. And when they realized they wouldn't get that moment, the atmosphere shifted. It didn't get quiet, just colder. Confused, tense. Online, it was even worse. Why is Clark out again? Flooded comment sections. Rumors swirled. Is she being protected from the physicality? Is there more going on behind the scenes? Nobody could give a straight answer. The Indiana Fever stayed vague. And the Fever head coach, Stephanie White, wasn't even there to explain. Meanwhile, Angel Reese, the one everyone used to boo, was now carrying the full weight of the moment, alone. And while the world was asking where Clark was, they were about to get an even bigger surprise. No Clark, no problem. At least not for Indiana. The moment the ball went up, it became painfully clear. This wasn't going to be a close game. The Fever came out aggressive, confident, and focused. The Sky, flat, disconnected, overwhelmed, and by halftime the scoreboard was already leaning hard in Indiana's favor. And by the end of the 4th, it wasn't just a loss, it was a demolition. 79-52, a 27-point beatdown. In front of their biggest home crowd ever, the Chicago Sky got outplayed, outpaced, and outcoached again. And here's the kicker. This wasn't even the first time. Earlier this season, the Indiana Fever rolled over the Sky, too. That time with Caitlin Clark on the floor. This time, without her. The message was loud. The Fever aren't just a one-player team. While Angel Reese scrapped under the glass and fought to keep her squad in it, Indiana was locked in from top to bottom. Kelsey Mitchell put on a show. Aliyah Boston dominated the paint. And Sophie Cunningham brought that gritty edge fans either love or hate. There's no in between. Meanwhile, the Sky couldn't find their rhythm. Every bucket felt forced. Every stop too late. No matter how loud the crowd got, it couldn't stop the bleeding. And yet, while the loss stung, it wasn't the most surprising part of the night. Because while the Fever were celebrating a win, everyone was asking the same thing. Where was the coach? While Indiana racked up points on the court, the real mystery was sitting just off of it. Or rather, not sitting there at all. Stephanie White, the Indiana Fever head coach, was nowhere in sight. For a high-stakes, nationally televised game in a legendary arena, her absence was more than noticeable. It was glaring. No statement before tip-off, no courtside presence, no post-game quotes. Just a single line from the team. She's out for personal reasons. That was it. But for fans, especially those already frustrated by Caitlin Clark's absence, that answer didn't cut it. Speculation flooded social media within minutes. Is she sick? Was there a conflict? Is something going on behind the scenes we're not being told? The questions piled up fast. Stepping in was Austin Kelly, an assistant coach thrust into the spotlight with zero warning. Calm, measured, and maybe even more composed than expected. And under his lead, the Fever didn't just survive, they crushed. Still, fans weren't done wondering, why is Stephanie White not coaching today? Where is she now? And when will she be back? No answers. Just silence. And maybe that silence said more than any press release ever could. Because while one coach went missing, another found himself back in a place that meant everything to his childhood. For most of the crowd, the absence of Stephanie White was a mystery. But for Austin Kelly, the night meant something entirely different. Something personal. As the assistant coach stepped into the head role for the Indiana Fever, he wasn't just filling in. He was stepping into a building that had shaped his childhood. I was born in '89, he said after the game. We'd pile into hotels during AAU road trips, crammed in with teammates watching the Bulls in June. Jordan, Pippen, the Dynasty. This place was everything to us growing up. Now here he was, not as a fan in the nosebleeds, but as the acting coach of one of the WNBA's most watched teams, calling plays from the same sideline legends once ruled. It wasn't just full circle, it was surreal. He wasn't the only one feeling it. Sky player development coach Aaron Johnson, a Chicago native, had this night marked for months. This was his home turf, his temple. He once sat way up in the rafters dreaming of what it'd be like to stand on that floor. And now, he was doing just that, in front of nearly 20,000 people. It's easy to focus on the stars, the Angel Reeses, the Caitlin Clarks, the ones with jerseys flying off the shelves. But nights like this remind us of the quiet stories, the full circle moments, the people who grew up idolizing this sport and now live inside it. While the headlines were swirling around who wasn't there, the emotions were real for those who were. And nobody embraced that spotlight more than Angel Reese. The scoreboard didn't flatter the Chicago Sky, but Angel Reese didn't flinch. In front of nearly 20,000 fans, under the weight of national attention and missing the rival that helped define her college stardom, Reese still showed up. She battled under the rim, she took the hits, she kept pushing even when the game was slipping away. And after the buzzer, when the microphones came out and the headlines were already writing themselves, Angel didn't talk about the loss. She talked about something bigger. We just continue to make milestones for women, she said. Women belong here. That moment hit harder than any stat line. Because Reese wasn't just speaking as a player, she was speaking as a symbol. The voice of a new era that refuses to wait its turn. Her presence, her confidence, her unapologetic fire. It's not just athleticism, it's leadership. And the WNBA is taking notice. It didn't matter that Caitlin Clark was sidelined or that Stephanie White was MIA. Angel Reese showed up. She stood tall in an NBA arena that once didn't even have room for women's basketball. Now, she wants more of it. "This is going to be the first of many," she said. "We could continue to see this. All our games in NBA arenas." That wasn't a hope. That was a challenge, a vision. The Sky versus Fever rivalry may be what people came to see, but Angel Reese, she's what they'll remember. And this night wasn't just about players, it was about a movement. For all the headlines about who played, who didn't, and who dominated, this game marked something even more important, a turning point for the WNBA. Just a few years ago, the idea of nearly 20,000 fans packing into the United Center for a regular season WNBA game would have sounded like wishful thinking. But now, it's real. It happened, and it's happening more often. Even more telling? You could grab tickets on StubHub for just $9, a surreal contrast to last season when courtside seats for Clark vs. Reese in Chicago were being resold for $5,000. That difference didn't reflect a lack of interest. It reflected a shift. Fans aren't just coming for a celebrity moment anymore. They're showing up because the game itself is changing. And make no mistake, that change has names. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston, Camila Cardoso. These players aren't just rookies. They're cultural forces, the kind of talent that turns casual viewers into loyal fans. They've brought debates, drama, highlights, and heat to a league that's been craving it. What's more, this was proof that the Indiana Fever don't live or die by Clark's presence. With Kelsey Mitchell lighting it up and Boston owning the paint, Indiana looked every bit like a playoff contender, even without their star. Meanwhile, the Sky may have taken the loss, but in Reese, they've got a cornerstone. Someone fans believe in, win or lose. This wasn't just another Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever matchup. It was a message. The WNBA isn't coming. It's here.